As we can. Spoken word. That is it. That is it. We're gonna kick off round number 2. Remember, with round number 2, even though you can do more than one, we do want to remember we want to try to get everybody in. Also, kind of keep in mind too is that as we go further in, round number 2 is always we're gonna put pretty much everybody. Round number 1 is usually dedicated out for all the poets, and round number 2 is dedicated out for all of our singers, all of our poets. Then we have been asked by a magician. I was going like, I'll take that as a form of expression. But remember, the idea of this is that words have power, and I tell everybody, you are somebody's inspiration. So as you get up here, the key of what the cornerstone of what Just Cares believes is that every person in their own right is somebody's inspiration. Somebody has come by, they've seen you do something in your day, and you inspired somebody to do something. At some point, you're somebody's goal. And because of that, what we try to do is uplift, inform, and empower. So what we're going to try to do is take that further. So first up in round number 2, I'm going to keep it traditional and the same, and just because I think it sets off a cornerstone, I'm going to have Frank as our lead off for round number 2.
I have a couple of short poems here. It's a trick microphone. Being Father's Day, I decided to select a poem that's a little bit non-traditional. Normally when we think of Father's Day, we think of our children honoring us and everything, and I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought, what an appropriate poem for Father's Day than a poem that was dedicated from a father to his son. The name of the poem is Death Be Not Proud. It is a poem that was required reading when I was in high school, 10th grade, about 66, 67, somewhere around there. And the story is, Death Be Not Proud was a book that the father wrote about his son. His son contracted cervical cancer. I mean, not cervical cancer, excuse me. Cranial carcinoma, which is a lump in the brain. And he was only, at the time that he got it, he was 15 years old. And the father's name was John Gunther, and his son was Johnny Jr. Gunther. And Johnny's aspiration was he wanted to live long enough to graduate from high school. Johnny, if you saw the movie Phenomenon that came out in 1995, that movie is loosely based on Death Be Not Proud. When Johnny developed the tumor, he started incurring all sorts of scientific expertise, and he was desperately working to try to fulfill all of his dreams of all the experiments that he wanted to do. He actually got to meet Albert Einstein in Princeton in New Jersey. And that was one of his dreams, and his other dream was that he could at least get into Harvard. And he lived just long enough to graduate, and he lived just long enough to be accepted at Harvard. And his father, Johnny died in 1947, and his father wrote the memoirs, Death Be Not Proud. The poem Death Be Not Proud was actually written by John Donne in 1631. John Donne was a clericist with the church, and he wrote a set of 10 ballad poems related to religion. His most famous one was the 10th one, about Death Be Not Proud. So Johnny's father dedicated that poem to be the name of the book. And you would have thought that this would be a poem that I would have remembered because it's so inspirational, especially around Father's Day. But because the English of that era is so difficult to speak, and I have hard enough trouble speaking regular English, I could not memorize it. It just was a poem I was never able to memorize. But what he does is he personifies death. In other words, he treats death as a creature, and that death will be defeated. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, death be not proud. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee, mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet cannot thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures being much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls deliver. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. And doused with poison war, sickness dwell, and poppy of charms can make us sleep as well. And better than thy stroke, why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. And when Johnny told his father about 6 or 7 weeks before he died in 1947 that he was concerned that he was not a spiritual person or that he believed in God. So his father suggested that he write a poem about it, and he did. This was the last piece of literature and the last poem that Johnny Gunther ever wrote, and it's called The Unbeliever's Prayer. Almighty God, forgive me for my agnosticism, for I shall try to keep it gentle, not cynical, nor a bad influence. And oh, if thou art truly in the heavens, my gratitude for all thy gifts, and I shall try to fight the good fight. Amen. The next poem is, the girls took me out for my birthday last week, and we always end up in either a theological or philosophical discussion. And by nature, I'm actually an engineer, not a writer. An unemployed engineer, but an engineer nonetheless, and that's how I was educated. And one of the girls was saying, engineers are such difficult people to understand. How can your wife live with you, or how can people live with you? You know, and finally the discussion says, what is an engineer? Well, I remember that in 1965, the West Virginia newspaper printed an actual thing called What is an Engineer? So this is their perspective back in 1965. What is an engineer? By nature, he is a bundle of such things as precision, logic, and order. A high motivation in the scientific fields is necessary to meet the stringent requirements of his profession. His thought processes strive for the clarity of black and white, never gray. He can be rational to the point of painfulness. His most valuable characteristics is his insatiable curiosity of everything around him. His interest in the laws of nature has led him to equations, expressions, relations, and combinations that have completely changed the course of man's life. Though his field has broadened into many specialties, he remains with his fellow engineers on a common foundation of scientific fundamentals. He claims his title by virtue of severe mental discipline, coupled with a host of practical experiences. He must be dependable. Without these qualifications, the title must be considered presumptuous. His work is as broad as the horizons. It may be a lofty building, a wide-span bridge, a speedy missile, a slow chain of gears, a delicate plotting machine. This broadness of field provides places for many types of his capabilities. He may be found cranking out routine designs or floating in the clouds of creative research and invention.
Very nice, sir. Very nice. All right, let's keep it going. Let's get up. And a big holla, holla, holla for Miss Tanya.
Where's Professor Cal? He went home? Well, excuse me. He went through my poem and counted the sentence that I repeat over and over. I forgot how many times he said it. We were lovers. Trying sophisticatedly to fill in the blanks till natural synchronicity glided stealthily through our pine feeble attempts to remember. Overpowering, mindless dinner banter released us just in time to dream. Traveling magic roads adorned with crowns of bending trees, winds singing leaves of pachyderms, sporting blue-winged butterflies as natural and titillating as an Anais romance, perched tenuously on past mantra, promising to love until the end of something or other, and smiling and laughing and convincing ourselves for 240 minutes of minutia over mellowed Merlot that we'd captured continued the journey born once at the edge of newness. Lovers, telling stories in words richer than the memories they conveyed, sensing needs in one another, yearning to go home fulfilled till the clock ticked out, traveling back to paths predestined for distance, sobering realities sealed with a kiss. We were lovers. In old dreams, where time twisted stories to ease our thoughts with kindness. We were lovers. And this is for a musician. The kids don't remember. I wrote this back in way before 1986. Anyway, this is an old musician. He's been here and gone. I think he played with Billie Holiday for a while. His name was Teddy Wilson. Last time I saw you, you had died. But it was all right, because we both decided you had gotten to heaven. Love lives on the holy mount of your heaven, wrapped in starry indigo blues night songs, where train sets the melody, penned for the creator's temperament, and Billy croons a love song to Ellington's ivory tower. Bebop, da bop, bebop, the bop. The count as in Basie, you are the moon, the sky, the universe in unquestioning content, far above the din of unreasonableness. A comet hitched to a storm of angel dust, swirling satin rings about your soul around midnight, as one would have it. Last time I saw you, you had left me. But we both decided you were among the top when Louis' arm heralded your arrival and trumpeted timeliness sharper than a Gabriel's horn. Babs Gonzalez teased and pleased and tickled fancies on the cusp of heavenly desire. I am missing you, dear one, for all the things you gave that no one duplicates. And if I could turn myself inside out, right side down to have you back, I would not. For we both agreed that you had reached the zenith of your pathways, and I would write a picture to your memory. Thank you.
I'll say the same thing, like. Excellent job as always, my dear. Excellent job as always. Remember, we encourage you guys post, because she had, again, over 400 views on her last poem. So we really encourage everybody to post. The Facebook page is for everybody to express themselves the best way we know how. We're gonna bring out Miss Tammy. Now, for those who don't know, Miss Tammy is not just your average poet. That's right, she's a pillar of the studio, has been here since, I would like to say just conception, but just a little after. And for those who don't know, like Miss Tammy unfortunately has not been with us for a little while. As you see her walking with her cane, people think that that cane is for her to walk. No, it is her violent tool and weapon she uses. So she expects lots of applause, or as she goes back through the aisle, she will just use the cane on you. So that's what I see that. Look at that, see, look at that. Oh, look at that, boom. See, that's how you start a crowd, all right?
Simply because there is a little bit of generalization. Just being honest, okay? And the name of this is from the inside. Men just don't love like we do. For a man, however good he is, loving is an external process. The act of making love for him